see. I got everything I need. What's up, everybody? I'm Dr. Weber. Today, we're going to go over a beginner mobility session for you on your off days from strength training or cardiovascular training. So let's just say you do a lot of walking and strength training, but you're looking for more of a recovery day, mobility day. You can call it stretching, yoga. Um, these are all interchangeable terms when it comes to um, Pilates, yoga, functional range conditioning. These are just methods to increase joint space and to maybe alleviate some pains. I'm not going to promise that it's going to change your body or that you're going to gain more range of motion. I think it's more of a method to fine tune the body. It's a way to preserve maybe the muscle tissue, the joint space, that sort of thing. There's a lot of research that shows the benefits of flexibility and mobility training. That's not what I'm here for. What I'm here for is to teach you how to create your own mobility program for yourself. So I'll tell you the methods that I use to increase range of motion, to increase flexibility and mobility. And honestly, once you get to a certain level, you might not even have to do that much mobility training. And I think mobility training, flexibility training is actually a little bit overrated. I think it got a lot of attention because people like to see people do flexible and acrobatic things. You look at the circus, you look at Circus Soleil, whatever they're called, and they do a lot of crazy things that the human body is incapable of doing for most people. But if you have hypermobility, people tend to gravitate toward the extreme when it comes to social media. So if you can do a split or a handstand or something that's kind of abnormal, then you get a little bit more attention. So that's where everyone kind of started saying, well, I want to do handstands or I want to do splits and I need to get more flexible. I'm really tight. I can't touch my toes. I have back pain, that type of thing. Most people, in my opinion, will get back pain. I don't think back pain is something that you're going to be able to rehab out of all the time. It's going to happen naturally. It's going to maybe never happen to you, but that's a very low percentage of the population that you'll never have back pain throughout your entire life. So don't get schemed by someone saying to you that mobility training is going to alleviate your back pain or strength training is going to alleviate your back pain or any of these things that might alleviate your back pain. The true fact is it just takes time for your back pain to alleviate and subside. And you just have to refrain from doing the activities that make it worse until it gets better. And then you can basically go on your normal day to day routine as long as it's not making that back pain worse. So back pain is all about managing the the um, the the reason why it actually hurts to begin with. So managing how you're hurting it. So if it's lack of sleep, lack of nutrition, it could be stress, it could be you're you're doing these constant flexion and rotation patterns, and you're staying there for long periods of time. Say you're feeding your kid or you're getting your kid in and out of their crib and you haven't done that ever, and so your back is just not used to these things, or you're carrying lopsided and so your back starts to hurt, or back pain can happen for many different reasons. So, um, when it comes to injuries and rehab, using mobility training is a great way to just stay active, but it's not necessarily going to decrease injury, prevent injury. And yes, there might be some benefits that might say that it will decrease injury risk if you perform mobility or flexibility training. There is benefits as well, you'll see in the research, but a lot of it is inconclusive or neutral. Um, so really, I don't think there's a way you can prevent injury. So don't think mobility training is going to prevent injury. Don't think mobility training is going to prevent back pain. Look at mobility training as a way to increase understanding of how the body moves and more of a personal relationship with movement, meaning that taking your body through its full range of motion in all of its joints is going to increase your awareness of your body's space and time. So, understanding how the shoulder rotates, understanding how you can stretch the shoulder out, understanding how you can stretch the hips out. If you understand how the body moves, then you can just perform your own mobility training. You don't need to follow a program. You don't need to buy a training method. You can basically increase your own mobility at your own will if you just know how to move the body. So that's what this video is all about. I'm going to teach you what people may have already taught you, but it may be just a little bit slightly different. So if you see something, you're like, oh, I've done that before. I might have a different cue that you've never heard, or I might do it in just a little bit different of a way. So you can try it that way, or you can try it your way. So really, I'm just going to give you different ways to increase mobility today. There's a couple tools we'll talk about that research will say that there is um, maybe inconclusive or neutral benefit to using foam rollers and lacrosse balls as self myofascial release. But when you look at personal trainers, when you look at athletic trainers, massage therapists, sport athletes, they all use some form of either self myofascial release, massage, whether that's foam rolling, whether it's having a masseuse, maybe that's someone getting you on a stretching station and stretching you out before practice. All these professional athletes have people that basically stretch them out, push into them, and really get their body loose for them so that they don't have to basically do what we're about to do. So this is poor man's mobility training or poor man's stretching because the rich man they get it done for them, and maybe the 1% do it themselves because they have the money, they have the people that can just do the massage training for them, they have people that will stretch them out before the practice. So why would they have to learn maybe a method if it's already given there for them and it's done by professionals that can actually move their hip in the right location as opposed to maybe doing it yourself and injuring yourself if you don't know what to do. So I wouldn't say only 1% of athletes actually perform their own mobility, but you have to understand that if you do increase your own mobility skills, or if you do increase what you do on a day to day basis when it comes to mobility training, you're going to feel a lot better. Because when you start mobility training, you're going to feel tight. You're going to feel it's going to hurt to push into yourself if you haven't done it. If no one's ever pushed into your muscles before, it's going to hurt to stretch or bring your arm overhead and leave it overhead if you haven't done that before. So basically, you just have to learn how the body moves, learn how to push into the body if you want to use self myofascial release techniques. Like I said, professional athletes get massage therapy. Um, they have people that push into them, stretch them out. So there's a reason why the best paid athletes in the world have people that are doing flexibility and mobility training with them. So that's what we're going to teach you today. So let's start with the self myofascial release, the foam roller, and the lacrosse ball. So if we're using a lacrosse ball, the best method to use it is with a wall. So if you're using a lacrosse ball, the first thing I'll tend to do is I will put my butt on the wall. I'll stand about 5 to 6 inches away, feet are shoulder width apart. I'll take the lacrosse ball behind my neck and head. I'll let it drop by moving my chest forward. So it gets to the middle of my back, say about right here, right behind me. And then I'm going to roll it over to the scapula. And then I'm going to go up and down, or sorry, the rhomboid, which is right next to the vertebrae, in between the vertebrae and the scapula. And then you can go actually on the scapula, above the scapula, into the trap, into the rhomboid, which is in between the scapula and the vertebrae, and then just kind of push into there, up and down, side to side. And then we'll do both shoulders. So you won't push into the back like the spine, you'll push right into the place right next to the spine. You'll go side to side, up and down, almost touching the neck, and then you'll push into the scapula itself, or that wing bone. Okay. Now you can also get the deltoids, so I can put my shoulder toward the wall and press into the side deltoids, go side to side. I can also press into the front deltoids by kind of rotating into the wall, getting the front end, or I can stand like this and tee out the arm. And then for the rear deltoids, I would place right behind and kind of push into that area right there. Okay. You can also push into the tricep, back of the arm, side of the arm if you wanted to, just like that. Really not advise that. It's not one of the best ways to do that. And then you can also get the hips and glutes. So I can push the lacrosse ball into my hips and glutes and get a good kind of stimulus there when I push into them, moving around into the muscle and going both sides. So that's the hips and glutes, upper outer glutes. And then if you find a sweet spot, or a spot that just feels kind of good, but maybe just takes your breath away a little bit, you just kind of breathe and hold into that spot a little bit. Okay. Sometimes you'll even feel your nerves a little bit doing that. And then after that, you should feel a little bit looser, especially in the shoulders. So overhead shoulder mobility, I really advise getting that roller or that lacrosse ball right in there. Sometimes I'll cross the shoulders like this, or I'll reach forward like that. So I'm really protracting those shoulders. So I'm separating those shoulders away from the back of the spine like that, and opening up the muscles in between the vertebrae. And then I'll go up to the neck, so up to the trap. Remember, the trap is overlying all these muscles. So you're basically getting your traps, your rhomboids, your scapula, your rear deltoids. And so the muscles in the scap that you'll hit will be the supraspinatus, which is above the scapula, infraspinatus, which will be the meat of the scapula, and you'll also get the teres major and teres minor. Well, teres minor is part of the scapula, and then the teres major is on the outside by the lat. So you can get the lat as well, and the teres major, which help you pull things and row things, that type of thing. So now my shoulders feel pretty loosened up. That's a good thing to do maybe before back day. Okay. If you want to hit the chest, you can open up and tee out the arm and get the upper chest, mid chest, and outer chest. And if there's an area that feels kind of good, or like I said, takes your breath away a little bit, kind of you push into it, you're like, ooh, something's going on there. Kind of just hold it there and breathe. So if I'm getting the chest, I'm opening it up. I might slide down, up, around, find a spot, hold, breathe. And then I'm using my body weight to kind of push as much pressure as I need. So not overdoing it, not underdoing it. Should be at like a 7 to 8 pain threshold. You don't want to be in the 9 to 10. 10 being like you're going to go to the hospital because you just injured yourself. 9 being you're getting close to overdoing it. 8 being very high and stimulating. 7 being kind of the sweet spot. 6 being kind of underneath that sweet spot, 5 being you can feel it, but it's not that big of a deal. And anything under 5 is really just light touch. Okay. So that's kind of how we'd measure pushing into you when it comes to the lacrosse ball. Now, when it comes to the foam roller, which is another great tool, I'll usually start with the Achilles tendon, calf, soleus, gastrocnemius. And what I'll do is I'll just kind of open up my legs so I get 1 foot at a time. I'll start right above the heel. I'll push into the roller and then I'll go side to side. If I feel more on the inside, I'll hold here. If I feel more on the outside, I'll hold there. I'll move my way up the calf. I'll do about 5 rolls each way and up and down per calf. And then again, I'll move on the inside and outside of the calf, and I'll move all the way from the ankle to right below the knee. I can even go behind the knee and onto the hamstring. For the hamstring, I think the best thing to use is like something like a softball while seated on a box. So, not the best way to get the hamstring, although you may feel about a 5-6 effort into the hamstring there. For the Achilles, you probably will not even get close to 8 or 7. This is if it's very tender when you push into the Achilles, just pay attention to that because usually this shouldn't be tender, should be nice and tight, nice and strong, not weak. But when we go up just a little bit, you may be a little bit more tender, and then probably the most tender is going to be right in the belly of the calf because you're going to be reaching most of the muscles here. We do want to hit the junction where the tendon meets the muscle as well. So that is going to cause that GTO, what we call the Golgi tendon organ, to kind of help release those muscle spindles. So that's the area where you're actually going to get a neurological effect, but you may have some aberrant tissue or what we would not technically call knots, but areas where you feel like those pressure spots on the muscles need to be worked into, and you might just hold and breathe into those areas. So that's what the calf and ankle would look like. Okay, both sides. Sometimes I'll get the outside of the peroneal muscles here. And you can also get the shin if you go into more of a kneeling position like this. You get the anterior tibialis like that. Which goes all from the top to the bottom of that tibia, which actually feels really good. And then for me, I broke that fibula playing soccer. So that muscle on the outside has always been, just feels like a constant knot. So every time I push into this, it feels really good. And I might kind of move my ankle around, might bend and straighten my knee when I'm doing that. So that's how I attack the knee and lower. Now, like I said, for the hamstring, you want more of a seated position on a box with either a softball type of ball, maybe even a very small med ball that's very hard. That's going to get the hamstrings probably better than using the foam roller. The next thing I'll get after the calves is the lower back. Now, lower back, a lot of people do not do this exercise or the way I do it. The first thing I do is just get into a bridge position and I allow it to just push my hips up, and then I move my knees side to side. And so I'll feel more of a stretch in the hips and lower back, and then I'll also be pushing into one side of the lower back. I don't want to really be on the spine too long. And then from here, after doing that a couple times, I will bring 1 foot underneath the opposite knee. And I'll show you on this side. And then I'll move the top knee toward that side. And so I'm kind of squishing into that side of the lower back, QL, spinal erectors, that junction between the hips and back. And then I'll switch side after a couple inhales and exhales. If the roller is too hard, you can get a softer roller, or if this is too much pressure on that lower back, then immediately get off and don't do this one, because lower back can be a touchy subject here. So take it easy if you have back issues. If you don't have back issues, you should probably be fine. And then from here, I'll sit all the way up first, and then I'll roll it to my mid and upper back. I'll start with my mid back, and then I'll kind of just do some extension and flexions around that roller. I can do that in several places if I want, up and down the back. And then from here, I'll extend my arms toward the ceiling so I protract my scapula. And then from here, I'll go side to side. And then I might bring my arms overhead. I might teeth them out like this. And then after that, I'll keep going up and down the back. I might bring my elbows together if I really want to get those rhomboids. But again, I got them pretty good up there. I might just go from scapula to scapula, because this is more of a broad implement, where the lacrosse ball is more of a specific implement when it comes to pushing into muscle. So you're going to feel this in your teres major on the outsides. You'll feel that in your lats in teres major when you go outside, teres minor. You feel that in the armpit area. Okay, and then I'll move to the lat and give it tension to the lat itself. I'll externally rotate and bend my elbow. So I'll kind of contract some of the muscles that I'm pushing into, just like that. I'll lengthen the arm, and then I'll also push into the chest, like we did on the wall, but this is how I would attack it with the foam roller. So I would just kind of hang out here, back to the lat, up and down. I can get the rear deltoid here as well. So that's what I would do for the lats. This is going to help with the overhead mobility. This is basically like what I was doing with the lacrosse ball, but I'm getting more of the outer edges. So more of the lats, more of the teres minor and major. And this is where I'm going to get the serratus anterior, posterior, pec major, minor. And so I'm getting a lot of different muscles at more broader range. I can externally rotate, internally rotate. Here, I can reach up and back. So finding areas, posterior deltoid as well, if I want, and just really kind of ironing out these muscles. Now I'm going to move to the thighs. So what I'll do is I'll move on one side of the roller, abduct, and flex my hip up, bend the knee, and then I'll roll from knee to hip. I might start on the inside of the hip and then move to the middle and then move to the knee, or I could do that in reverse. So I could start here, then move to the middle, maybe just focusing on the most tender area of the 3 spots. And then I can hang out internally, externally, rotate the hip if I want here. And then I'll switch side. Okay. So getting your vastus medius, then you're getting your adductors, then you're getting your, you got your gracilis in here, a little bit of your sartorius there on the inside of the knee. Okay, so that's gonna be the inside of the thigh. Then we'll move to the top of the thigh. We'll start with the TFL next to the pocket. Okay, so find out where your pocket is. Put the roller right there. And then there should be a tiny little muscle the size of a piece of soap, like a soap bar, that you should be able to feel when you move up and down on that area. And then you'll switch side quickly because sometimes you'll feel it easier on the opposite side, and then you can switch if you can't feel it on either side. But this is very small muscle. It's your TFL. Helps you internally rotate your hip. So if you internally rotate your hip here, you'll feel that muscle pushing into the roller. Then you know you're on the right one. Now, this one might sting. Now, out of all of the muscles in your body, this is going to sting probably the most if you get it the right way. So it's a stabilizer, it's a mobilizer, and a probably undervalued muscle that people overlook. And it tends to tighten up the most when you flex the hip or when you internally rotate the hip. So a lot of people might get knotted up in this position if you get them in a seated position, have them flex one hip. So now I'll go the other side. See if I can find, yeah, I found it really well on one side. Again, you'll know by bending the knee, internally, externally rotating the hip, and you'll feel that muscle contract. Okay. I'll go side to side, up and down. I might even bring this leg behind and get the upper outer glute med, which we'll be going to next. Or I could get the glute med by, no, I mean, that's probably the best way is bringing that foot behind the body and getting the upper outer glute. So we'll try that on the other side. So moving from the TFL to the upper outer glute or the glute med. Wow, this one is a lot tighter. I think my right side in general is more tight. You'll notice a trend here. Might have some muscles next to each other that are very tight, or you might just see that one side of the body is tighter than the other side of the body. Oof. So this definitely, when it stings a little bit more, or if it feels just tight and like it's not relaxing, or you get kind of stiff and nervous, then you know you found an area that may need some attention, may need some extra, maybe loosening up before you use those muscles because they should be really relaxed, supple, you know, just ready to go. Not they shouldn't be tight before, you know, if you're just relaxed, your muscles shouldn't be tight. So there's the upper outer glute. Now we're going to get the glute max. So sit on the roller, cross one leg over, and then we're going to kind of push in that side. We'll roll up and down. We can go side to side here. You do a pretty good job doing it in that other position. So this is more glute max, but you're still going to get things like your piriformis and your glute med here. Okay, and then lastly, we'll target the quad to finish up the roller. Toes down. We'll move to the upper quad, mid quad, low quad. If this is not enough pressure, which for me it isn't, I'll use just one quad at a time. And I'll move from the knee all the way to the hip just to get the whole quad first. The quad is the biggest muscle group of the body here. So this is going to be actually going to probably be the second most intense spot. Adductors for some people might be another area that's like that as well, like the TFL. And then other quad, up and down. Breathe while you're doing this. You can internally and externally rotate the hip. And then you can also get the what do we call this? The IT band here. So that runs along the lateral quad. It's a band of tissue that kind of joins the outer glutes and the inner and upper hip. So that TFL. Okay. So getting that IT band starts at the knee, goes to the hip. And this probably hurts the most I would say, out of all of them. So be careful with that one. I wouldn't say it stings the most. I think that one hurts the most. All right, so then we're basically done with the foam roller. All right, so we should feel, after that, we should feel pretty loose. So if you were to stand up, just kind of step around or just do some marching, you'll feel that maybe your legs feel lighter. Bring your arms overhead. Maybe you just feel a little bit looser. So those are the direct benefits. You're gonna feel probably a little bit better. So maybe the cons of doing foam rolling is that it takes too long. That you got better things to do like strength training or cardiovascular training. I get that. Um, Maybe your warm up method of just going on a bike or treadmill is better, which it probably is. You might not need to do this, but for me, I think if you add it in 1, 2 times a week, I think you're definitely going to see improvements in just the way you feel. And if you do exercises now, you're going to feel really good. Like I'm telling you, if I do a press now, if I do a pull up, my arms and shoulders kind of want to do those things now. They're going to feel loose and ready to go. So I think that's one of the top benefits of doing the self myofascial release. Okay. Now, okay. The next activity we're going to do for the beginner mobility is I'm going to go through some different, what we call base positions. So a base position is a position that you can get into and then you can work from there. So we're going to talk about the cross legs base position, the supine base position, the prone base position, the quadruped base position, the standing base position, and then we'll do some wall exercises. We might get into some dynamic power and strength and maybe some static stretching if we have a little bit of time. But basically, I'm going to go over all the base positions with you, and I'm going to tell you what stretches you can perform in those base positions. And then you can perform them as long as you want. But I'm going to go through them relatively quick. I don't spend more than 15 seconds in positions anymore because I feel like I feel good. My body is flexible, it is mobile. I don't necessarily need to hold these positions for minutes or feel like I need to hold these things for a full minute. If I just get in and out of a position, sometimes that just feels good in of itself, and I don't want to waste time stretching. So that's why I like to go through mobility base positions relatively quickly, so I'm not stretching all day, so I can get into my workout. Plus, 15 seconds to 30 seconds is a relatively good amount of time to hold positions. But if you're moving in and out of those positions a couple times, that's also another way to kind of keep active so you don't feel like you're doing static stretching. So most of these position and base positions are going to come with active stretching and some ways to kind of move in and out of these positions so you don't feel like you're stuck or static. Okay. So we're going to start with the cross legs position, which generally you'll see in a yoga class. Everyone will start in the cross leg position. So this is kind of your routine. I'll kind of move the camera down a little bit. So this is going to be your routine beginning position in any yoga class. And you're going to focus on breathing, nostril breathing, and you're going to make sure that you're inhaling through your nose and exhaling everything out, maybe through your mouth or through your nose. So generally, your breathing should be pretty calm and steady. We don't need to be rushing our pace. Just generally relax throughout the entire mobility practice. So we might start with just some inhales and exhales with the eyes closed. Might do some box breathing. Could just do some long exhales. You could do double inhale, double exhale, or double inhale, exhale, double exhale, inhale, that type of thing. So, whatever exercise, breathing exercise you wanted to perform first might be a good way to start and just kind of lower the stress, right? Then, in this cross leg positions, we're going to show you some stretches that you can perform. Now, if it's hard to get into this position, the best solution is to put your back against the wall or a box. Okay. And if you can't do that, maybe bring the bottoms of your feet together or just have your feet out in front of you. Okay. But if you can get in this cross leg position, we're really going to be focusing on the lower back and hips here. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring the hands forward and reach, and we're just going to try to relax the head and breathe here. And you should feel a nice stretch in the lower back. So starting, you're stretching with your lower back and then moving to one side of the body, from one knee to another knee, maybe hanging out 10 to 15 seconds in each position. After that, I'm going to loosen up the legs. So just kind of bounce those legs off the ground, bring those feet together, toes toward the sky, bring my hands behind the thighs, and just feel a nice pull in my hamstrings. I may even feel this in my lower back. If I spread my elbows out, I may feel it in my upper back. So I'm going to hold here 10 to 15 seconds. If I can't touch my toes, I'm going to hold on to underneath my calves. If I can't do that, hold right here, or I can bring my hands behind me. Then I'm going to bring one leg in, one leg out. Hands can be behind me. My shoulders are going to face that hand and that foot, reach toward the feet, just like that. And we'll switch side. And we don't need to spend too much time here. We just need to kind of get in and out of these positions. So if you wanted to hang out longer, you could. But I'm just going to kind of go through these seated cross-leg stretches first, okay? The next one from the cross-leg position is going to be the butterfly. So bringing the bottom of the feet together, and then from here, I'm going to actively bring those knees toward the ground. And then from here, the 90-90 position. So both knees at 90 degrees. Front foot's in line with the back knee and foot. You're going to face and forward, bring the chin over the knee. Feel that stretch in the outer glute. And then you can rotate toward that front leg. And then you can rotate toward that back leg. And we'll switch side. So chin over knee. Rotate toward that front leg. Rotate toward that back leg. Okay. Then from the cross legs, we can easily get into that kneeling position, which is going to stretch out the quads. And you're also going to stretch out the ankles here, the front of the shins. And then we can turn this into an overhead shoulder stretch. So straightening the elbows, bringing the thumbs up, and then relaxing the head and forehead and bridge and nose to the ground. And breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth. From here, I can test my shoulder mobility or activate my shoulders in this position by bringing one arm off the ground and then switching, and then maybe doing a rotation here. But if your shoulders and arms feel too tight doing that, you don't worry about it. Okay. From here, what we're going to do is go into the supine base position. The supine base position basically just means you're going to be laying on your spine. So that's why supine kind of sounds like spine. And then supinated also means that you have your palm facing up. So supination, supine position is all going to relate to being on your back or belly up. From here, we're just going to bend the knees, cross one leg over, push this knee that's up high forward. You should feel a stretch in the outer hip. And then we're going to reach for the top of the shin. And as we're here, we're going to push that knee forward. Maybe bring your head to the ground. Switch side. First push. Head can be down or up. It doesn't matter. And then we'll pull that top shin. From here, we'll widen the knees. Bring the hands on the outsides of the knees. Kind of pull those knees toward the shoulders. Should feel a stretch in the adductors here. And then from here, we can kind of rock side to side. Bring our knees together, little circles, a little kind of massage for the lower back. And then from here, we're going to windshield wiper the leg. So kind of like that 90-90 position. So knees and hips are going to go externally and internally. And then from here, we'll go to our hamstring. So feet together, toes up, hands behind the hamstring, circle out the ankle both ways. And then go for a couple knee bends. And then switch side. So circle it out. Head can be up or down, doesn't matter. And then a couple knee bends here. Okay. Then from here, we're going to rock and roll. Turn onto the prone position. Okay. So prone position, first thing we'll do is just get in the Sphinx or modified Cobra. Okay. Then we can get into the Cobra position. This hurts the back. Just disregard this stretch. And we can rotate side to side here. Don't need to do it long. Just a couple times. Looking up. And then from here, going back to that child pose position, which we've done before. So kind of flexion of the spine. And then extension of the spine. So back to that Sphinx position. From here, we'll bring our arms overhead. We'll extend one arm and leg, point the toe down, reach the arm overhead, and then switch. And then from here, bring our palms face down next to our pockets. And then lift the arms off the ground and look up. Breathe into that. Now we're kind of strengthening the lower back here, kind of solidifying the flexibility. Breathe. And then from here, we're going to W the elbows here to make goalposts. Reach overhead with the chest and chin as high as you can. And then pull it down. One more, all the way up overhead. And then pull it down. Relax. Keep your arms, elbows at 90 degrees. Then from here, we're going to reach overhead, bend at 90, opposite arm, opposite leg. Exhale, exhale. And then you're going to do same-sided arm and leg for 3 reps. Good. Now we're going to go opposite arm, opposite leg, straight arm, straight leg. So connecting the opposite lat with the opposite glute. Really using what we call the posterior oblique sling. And then your longest, your posterior sling here. That was called the longest sling, but I'll have to look it up. Goes directly down the center there. From here, the prone position, we're going to move to the hands and knees or quadruped position. Okay. So from here, we can perform things like cat and cow. So hands are underneath the shoulders, knees are behind the hands. Around the back, tuck the chin. Arch the back. We can do some neck rotations or look side to side. We can do some shoulder rotations here. Okay, we can do some hip rotations. We can do some ankle rotations. All right. We can do some wrist stretching. So we can bring those fingers toward the knees and go with our fists back and forth from pointer fingers to pinkies. And then we can move in circles here on our wrists, both sides. Okay, we can do the downward dog position, which if our wrists don't allow us to do this, then we can quit this one. Getting the calves here, feet together, one leg up, switch, and then you can also bend the knee and open up the hip. Okay, you can do some hip circles in this position as well. You can do, call it the sunbird, opposite arm, opposite leg, and then you can challenge knee to elbow. And then you can also do same, or you can do this in the plank position, knee to elbow. Okay, so kind of building strength as we kind of progress through the mobility session. So not, it doesn't become just stretching, it becomes actual strengthening of the body and the core. So after that, we would do standing position. So starting with half kneeling. Okay, when our feet are going to be on the ground, our standing position. So getting the front hip flexor. We can also get the adductor here. Okay, and we can turn this into a long lever adductor or a short lever adductor. Okay, this is going to be the front of the hip. Okay, we can also get the back of the hip by rotating out in this position, kind of elevated pigeon position, or you could go to pigeon itself. Okay, another great one for the glute and hip. All right, so we got half kneeling, front of the hip. Okay, we can turn this into a hamstring stretch. We could also turn this into an advanced quad stretch, maybe using the wall for support. Okay, and we could also turn this into a couch stretch with our knee close to the wall, foot up the wall, and then back to the wall. But you don't want to overdo that because that can be really painful, especially on the quads, obviously. So standing stretches, you can do a V stance, hands down, one arm up. Might have to go a little bit wider. Okay, you can also just do a basic squat. Okay, you can hold this position, get into the squat position, bring the hands together, maybe lean forward, come back. Okay, you get into the combat position with our knee over toe, getting the ankle and calf here. Okay, then we have our single leg reach. You can use a wall for support. It's just basically a one leg hinge, feeling a good stretch in the hamstring here. I like using the wall for balance. Okay, and then you can challenge yourself without the wall. Reach forward with the opposite arm. Maybe go to a march position. Let's try it on the other side. Oh, that less balance on my right side. Okay. And other standing stretches can just be your standing toe touch. Breathe in there a couple seconds, 15 seconds. Hip hinges, you can do a couple of these. So remember, you're performing either 3 reps of each exercise or holding for 5 to 15 seconds. So whatever works best for you. For wall stretches, arm overhead, thumb back. Hold that for 10 to 15, elbow up, bend the elbow all the way, push into the wall, side of the body toward the wall. I'll tee it out, ear on the wall. I will cactus the arm for pec fly, stretch. Okay, and that's the way I would stretch out my shoulders maybe before back or chest day. So any upper body day, I'm gonna wanna really stretch out these shoulders. Shoulders are going to be the most vulnerable. They're the least stable out of all your muscle groups. So really tending to them first, maybe doing some arm rotations here at the end of all this, kind of solidify some shoulder shrugs and circles. Okay, elbow, wrist. Okay, can also do thoracic spine. So all good standing mobility exercises and drills. Then we're going to get into more of a dynamic stretch. So this is when we would take about 10 dynamic stretches, and I'll give you some examples. And we would do 5 seconds as highest intensity as possible. Okay, so something like starting with a march, and then moving to a skip, and then to a high knees. In between each exercise, resting maybe 30 to 60 seconds. Okay, then I might move to butt kickers. Okay, I might do lateral shuffles side to side, and I might do side skip. Remember, each exercise, I'm going to rest maybe 10 to 30 seconds, depending on how much time I have. If I really want good efforts, then I'm going to wait longer in between each rep. Then I'm going to go into maybe higher dynamic efforts like power movements. Strength movements, then power movements. So I could do some just regular air squats, could do some more single leg reaches. Okay, I could do the inchworm. I could do some lunges, forward or backward. Or I could do walking lunges. Okay, these are going to be some strength exercises, maybe some push-up. I'm going to perform 8 to 10 reps of each. Could also be doing side planks, something that's just kind of more of a strength exercise and an activator after my mobility, solidify those gains. Then I'm going to go into power. So I would rest 3 to 5 minutes between dynamic and power, and then I would choose 3 to 5 power exercises, either body weight or with weight, that I could do. Rest 3 to 5 minutes between each set if I'm going to do it right, and go 3 to 5 reps, 3 to 5 sets. So I could do something like a squat jump, where I squat down, arms back, jump, 3 to 5 reps of that. I could do one-legged hurdle hop, so 3 hurdles. Okay, I could do lateral bound. I could do a med ball slam. I could also do a hang clean. I could do a one-arm snatch. I could do a wall ball throw. So pick 3 to 5 power exercises after your dynamic stretch. Then you go into your hypertrophy or strength training, okay, which is going to either involve pushing, pulling, squatting, hinging, or core exercises. So if it's a full body workout day, make sure you include all 5 of those. If it's upper body, make sure it's a little push and pull. If it's lower body, make sure there's some hinging and squatting. Machines, free weights, body weight, doesn't matter. Just get the muscles firing and use high intensities. And make sure that you're eating properly before your workouts and after your workouts, because definitely need carbs in your muscles to perform better, and they will supply you with energy during your workout as well. So that's all I got today. That's a beginner mobility guide. Hopefully you learned some things. If you have questions, please let me know, and let me know what videos you want to see next. I may go over, if you look at my Dr. Weber YouTube page, you'll see tons of other stretches and mobility drills that you can follow. But let me know what you want to see next.